The Atlantic hurricane season is ramping up in a big way as we enter August. By the middle of August, there could be a threatening system for the United States. We're also looking at the Eastern and Central Pacific Basin as another named system. Henriette has been named. We're going to also look at the mainland United States weather as a heat wave and heavy precipitation with severe weather is in the forecast. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, folks. We do daily weather forecast updates, as you know. We did a video earlier today. We're doing an update video now. We're going to do another video tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So subscribe to the channel, like the video, and also share it with a friend, family member, and on social media. Let's first talk about the Atlantic Basin here, and let's first look at the environmental background. We have a double-barreled area of high pressure in the north and the northeast Atlantic, which is your Bermuda High. Underneath, we have lowering of the pressure. This is what we call the MDR. This is the main development region. And then in the northwest Atlantic, we also have lowering of the pressure, and that, my friends, is Tropical Storm Dexter. So let's look here at the latest from the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida. There's Tropical Storm Dexter in the northwest Atlantic, in the yellow just off the southeast coast, especially off the coasts of South Carolina and east of Georgia. That is a low probability of a tropical depression or a tropical storm to be named. That's a 30% chance there. And then notice out in the main development region, a wave coming off of the coast of Africa from the monsoon of the Saharan desert actually has a much higher chance, has a 50% chance of developing there in the main development region and taking a run closer toward the Lesser Antilles. So let's talk about this a little bit more here, and closer to home, we are seeing Tropical Storm Dexter. This is your 500 millibar vorticity. This shows you the spin in the atmosphere, and notice Dexter right there just off of the mid-Atlantic coast. This is moving away from the United States, but I want to turn your attention to this piece of energy just to the north and east of the Bahamas. That is going to drift closer to the United States here over the next couple of days and get kind of hung up along the southeast coast, and as it does so, it's going to be pumping in a lot of tropical moisture from the Caribbean and the Eastern Gulf, and this definitely could change into a system that could become a tropical depression, maybe even a weak tropical storm, but especially most likely scenario would be another very heavy rainfall event for the southeastern United States heading into late this week and this upcoming weekend. Let's look at that. So as we go through today, again, there's Tropical Storm Dexter. That's going to be moving away from the United States further off toward the east. We watched this wave of moisture that's going to be pumping closer to the southeast coast, and this is going to be bringing some heavier rainfall for our friends in the southeast on a daily basis through the middle and late portion of this week. But then especially heading into the weekend, and we're just going to see round after round after round of showers and heavy thunderstorms, and some of these rainfall rates could easily be 1, 2, even 3 inches per hour, which could cause some flash flooding across the southeast. So this takes you through Monday, a week from today, Monday, August 11th, and notice this is a national blend of models. So it puts all the models together in an average mean and averages it out, right? So this is a 3 to 6 inch swath, especially for the Eastern Carolinas, Norfolk, Wilmington, Myrtle Beach, Charleston, and then down into Georgia, so the Savannah, Georgia area, and especially down here into the peninsula of Florida, where we could be seeing those 3 to 6 inch rainfall totals. Now, again, this is an average, so these numbers could be much higher than this, especially if the system gets caught up here along the coast and sits here and spins for a couple of days. Now, it's not a guarantee this becomes a tropical depression or a tropical storm or anything of those nature. It's a 30% chance of that developing. It's a low chance, but this system definitely has the chance to produce some very heavy flooding rain. So that's something we got to keep an eye on going here in through the week and into the weekend. Looking at the long range, a robust tropical wave coming off the coast of Africa, the Saharan desert having their monsoonal season right now, and this is going to be a robust wave to watch. Wednesday on August 6th, moving into the eastern MDR, which is the main development region. This is going to be moving westward through that region over the next several days thereafter, and really not even closing in potentially on the Lesser Antilles until the middle of August, which would be that following Wednesday August 13th or even that Thursday, August 14th. So we got plenty of time to watch this, but just to give you an idea, that was the European model, here's the GFS model, and notice it still shows that robust tropical wave moving off the coast there of Africa, and as we go into the weekend into the main development region and then crossing through portions there of the Lesser and Greater Antilles, it's a little bit faster of a solution than the European model is as well. So take that into account. Now let's look at the ensembles. Here's the European ensemble. You notice there is a tropical wave down here, and it's going to start to get a little bit more organized once we get into the weekend and then beyond into the following weekend. There are some members that take this closer into the Lesser Antilles and into areas like the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. So that is something to monitor. It is a scenario that could play out into the middle of August. We look at the GFS ensemble guidance. It is very similar here. We got that robust tropical wave, again, moving off of Africa. And you can see there are a few members that are pushing this in toward the Caribbean and the Lesser and eventually the Greater Antilles, again, such as Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, and areas over there, again, in the Lesser Antilles. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this as we go into the middle of August. The trend is for a much stronger system to be further off to the south than, say, Dexter is right now and the system that's in the Carolina coast, and this could be impacting a lot more areas once we get into the middle of August. Now, we are looking here at the East Pacific Basin as well because we have Tropical Storm Henriette that has formed, and just on its heels, there is a likely chance, greater than 60% chance, of another system developing here right off of the Central Americas and just to the west there of that region, and that would be the East Pacific Basin near Mexico. So let's look here at Henriette, again, taking you back to the 500 millibar vorticity signature. This shows you the spin in the atmosphere. There's Henriette there. That's going to be pushing further to the west over the next few days. And then here comes another system. This could rapidly form into a tropical depression or a tropical storm once we get to Thursday, Friday, which is August 7th and 8th here this week. And that will pass just to the south and west of Mexico. And again, following the tracks of Henriette. So looking closer at the Hawaiian Islands as we get towards this upcoming week, well, Henriette could actually take a run toward the Hawaiian Islands, but likely just staying to the north of Hawaii. And you can see that as well with the GFS model, likely taking this to the north of Hawaii, the GFS just slightly north of where the European model is showing it. But nonetheless, even indirect impacts such as rip current risks, rough surf, and just higher wave heights will be possible for the upcoming weekend and especially early next week, areas near Hawaii. And you can see some of those higher waves with the arrows pointing more to the southwest toward the smaller islands of Hawaii. Definitely going to be crashing some of those waves on shore, again, creating that rip current risk, that rough surf risk there for the Hawaiian Islands, especially between Saturday and next Monday. So that's something we're going to be keeping a very close eye on. Closer to home, it was nothing short of outstanding as far as temperatures were concerned across portions of the upper Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and the Northeast, with temperatures ranging from the mid-70s like the Twin Cities to the upper 80s perhaps over here into New York City, but with drier humidity. Rain-cooled air across the Southeast gave us some record cool highs across portions of the Atlanta metro, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, stretching up toward Asheville, North Carolina, with temperatures in a few areas sticking into the upper 60s this afternoon in the Southeast. And then we're baking in the heat again from Texas westward into New Mexico and Arizona. And we look at the heat through the week. It's going to be building further to the north and east toward the Midwest, Great Lakes, and into the Northeast as we go through the rest of this week, taking you through Friday, August 8th. And so stepping it through the week. So here's Tuesday, August 5th. Notice more of those 90s, even some triple digits in the mix here, starting to build across the eastern Rockies, but the western and southwestern plains. Still some rain-cooled air over here into the southeast from Georgia into the Carolinas and Virginia as we go into tomorrow, with temperatures again into the upper 60s to low 70s. And again tomorrow in the Midwest, the Great Lakes and Northeast, ranging from the upper 70s to the mid and upper 80s with lower humidity. And then we'll step those numbers up just a little bit more and move that heat a little bit further north as we go into Wednesday, August 6th. More of those 90s stretching into now South Dakota and Nebraska and Missouri. Record highs in places like Phoenix at 116, and then Phoenix could take a run at 120 as we go into Thursday, August 7th. widespread triple-digit heat from, say, Rapid City down here through Dodge City, portions of Kansas, all the way into Amarillo, Wichita Falls, Dallas-Fort Worth once we get into Thursday, and then to end the week on Friday, some 90s reaching areas like Chicago there on the lakefront at 92, 90 there into the Detroit region, 93 in Des Moines, and 92 as well into Kansas City. So we're going to be seeing more humidity with that. As we start to heat up during the day, it only makes sense we're going to start to heat up at night as well. So comfortable lows as we start tomorrow across the upper Midwest, Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, temperatures ranging from the mid-50s to the low 60s out there with lower humidity. And then watch as we start to step those temperatures up in the mornings. By Thursday morning, we're introducing upper 60s to low 70s to those morning lows up there into the Midwest and the Great Lakes region. And the warmest looks to be by next Saturday morning, August 9th, where we could have some record warm lows up into northern Wisconsin and the upper peninsula there of Michigan. Now, we are tracking some severe weather to the rest of today into this evening. We are seeing a scattered threat for severe thunderstorms in yellow and an isolated threat for severe thunderstorms in dark green, including the chance for a few tornadoes. It is a low chance, but it's a chance nonetheless, so you can't ignore it. In the green is a 2% chance. That extends from near Rapid City down here toward North Platte, including the western Nebraska Panhandle. And then a small area from southeastern Colorado into the western Oklahoma Panhandle and northwestern Texas Panhandle there as well. And then heading into tomorrow on Tuesday, August 5th, scattered threat for severe weather in the central Dakotas and isolated threat of severe weather extending up into northeastern Montana there in the dark green. The good news is we have the chance for tornadoes, but it's less than today. I think really it has a 2% chance, but I think it's less of a chance for tornadoes tomorrow. It's further up to the north, but I do think it's more of a damaging wind and hail threat versus tornadoes, so that is some good news. So as we look at the central United States view, we are going to be seeing those isolated supercells developing over the next few hours. They will fade away once we get to midnight, but additional storms may start to develop and fester up there into eastern Montana and the western Dakotas by the time we start the day on Tuesday, and then additional storms in the afternoon and some supercells. Yes, a tornado threat, but I think this is mainly going to be for some destructive hail once again, tennis ball, baseball size hail out of these storms, and some 70 mile per hour downburst winds that reach the surface and spread out in all directions. And nonetheless, we're also going to be seeing some torrential rainfall with these storms as well, and that will take us into Wednesday morning. It could be a wet start to the day in the Twin Cities as we start the day there on Wednesday. Rainfall most widespread up there in the Dakotas and also western Minnesota. Some areas seeing 1 to as much as 2 inches of rain. The further south you go, the drier it will go, especially as we get into Kansas, Oklahoma, and into Texas. Now in the eastern U.S., it's all about the southeast, that tropical influence with our moisture. A lot of that rainfall going to be moving up and over the same areas: Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Southern Virginia. That's going to be the main corridor of rainfall as we go through tonight and going through much of the day there on Tuesday. Could have a few thunderstorms from the Ohio Valley up in the northeast. Going to be very isolated, 10 to 20% chance of those developing, and that will continue through Wednesday morning. Main focus for rainfall, again, Southern Virginia, the Carolinas, Georgia, and North Florida. There could be a corridor in there where we could see 1 to 4 inches worth of rainfall. You know this area, especially the Carolinas, mountainous, hilly terrain, so that could lead to a lot of runoff, and flash flooding could result from that through your Wednesday morning. In the west, we got some monsoonal flow out here over the next few hours. We got some thunderstorms. Some of those could drop some heavy rainfall and be strong and produce some hail and winds across Montana and into northern Wyoming. But as we go into the day on Tuesday, it's going to be few and far between. A lot of the west is going to be dry for Tuesday. A thunderstorm is possible here or there. A shower is possible here or there towards Seattle and Portland. Other than that, very dry out west. The main area of concern would be Montana, where a few areas could get up to 3/4 or even an inch of rainfall, especially the eastern side of the state there as we go through 7 a.m. there on Wednesday morning, August 6th. Now, looking at Wednesday, August 6th in general, another threat for severe weather. It is isolated from the Twin Cities there all the way back down into Lincoln, Nebraska. We're going to be keeping an eye on that area. It does include Pierre, South Dakota, Sioux Falls, so we have a threat for damaging winds, large hail again, and an isolated tornado. And then as we go into Thursday, kind of a little bit less of a severe threat, and then it ramps right back up. As we go into Friday, August 8th, another threat for scattered storms that could be severe from southern and central South Dakota up into into southeastern North Dakota and then into western Minnesota by then. This could expand and get upgraded as we get closer. So here's Wednesday, and notice we got some storms moving through the upper Midwest. Thursday, kind of a break from that. Can't rule out a shower or storm that could become strong, but then Friday we have a system coming along, and this could produce a complex of some dangerous severe weather, damaging winds, large hail, and an isolated tornado or two. And especially in parts of the central and eastern Dakotas, western Minnesota, this could be more of an evening and overnight threat. And then as a cold front moves through portions of the upper Midwest on Saturday, Sunday, as that main parent low will track up near the Hudson Bay from Manitoba into the southwestern Hudson Bay as a sub 995 millibar low, that could swing some severe weather into parts of the Midwest like Kansas City, Des Moines, Milwaukee, and Green Bay, maybe even Chicago as we round out the weekend there on Sunday. Overall, between now and Sunday evening on August 10th, here are the rainfall totals. Heaviest with the tropical influence again across the southeast. We are going to be seeing some heavier rainfall at times with those storm complexes up across the northern plains and upper Midwest. But if you drop down into the southern plains, the Ohio Valley, parts of the northeast, and then especially the desert southwest, we're going to be very dry, if not bone dry in some of these areas. I think the most likely areas to be bone dry would be California, Nevada, Utah, and much of northwestern Arizona as we go through this upcoming weekend. Heading into next week through the long-range portion of the forecast, temperatures are going to be above normal for the majority of the United States, and with the exception of the southeast, again, with some tropical influence, temperatures may be near normal to slightly below normal here between Monday, August 11th, which is a week from today, through Friday, August 15th, which takes you to the midpoint of the month of August. And there is a weak signal, but a signal nonetheless for above-average precip that will continue across the eastern, but especially the southeastern U.S. through the middle of August, with a little bit of a drier trend further west, and that probably has to do with the center of the ridge of high pressure building in across that region. So in general, as we go through that time frame, Monday, August 11th, a week from today, through Friday, August 15th, which again takes you to the midpoint of the month of August, it is going to favor the eastern seaboard with the potential for heavier rainfall. Not that it can't rain in the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, or the Deep South, but it's going to be a little bit more sporadic. But then the further west you go toward the Rockies, and then especially the inner mountain west, like the West Coast there in particular, we're going to get a lot drier the further west you go into the United States by the middle of August. Now, speaking of dry weather, we are looking at a fire weather risk here the rest of tonight across portions of the Rockies, especially from Wyoming into northwest Colorado and Utah, northern Arizona, and cherry red. That's a critical fire weather risk. In orange, that's an elevated fire weather risk. And then in brown, that is where dry thunderstorms will be possible from portions of Oregon, northern Nevada, and into Idaho. And then as we go into tomorrow, the critical fire weather concern remains mainly across south central Utah into northwestern Arizona, with a widespread area in the Rockies in orange for an elevated fire weather risk. And then that continues as we go into Wednesday with maybe more of that critical area expanding west into portions of eastern Nevada. So make sure if you are having any open burning out west, campfires or a controlled burn of any sort, that you watch it very closely, because we are looking here at those relative humidity percentages this evening, and notice they are into that 5-10% range. They'll improve a little bit overnight, and then we'll see that really drop and bottom out again 2 to 7% range as we go into Tuesday, and then as we go into Wednesday, that 2 to 7% range as well. So again, dry fuels out west, and coupling that with some stronger gusty winds, that is not going to bode well. If a fire gets started and gets uncontrollable, it could turn into a wildfire very quickly. So that's why they have the elevated and critical fire weather concerns in the combination of drought, the strong gusty winds, and the dry fuels out west. So make sure you are staying safe out there as well. To close the video, we're going to talk about the climatology of named storms in the Atlantic. Again, when we started the video, we talked about the Atlantic heating up. In August, a lot of those named storms start there in the main development region, just east of the Lesser Antilles, and then they kind of curve out to sea, with closer threats to the east coast of the United States. As far as hurricanes are concerned, actually areas near the Carolina coast and up there toward the mid-Atlantic coast is most likely to experience a hurricane in the month of August. But as we know, even into the Caribbean and the Gulf, hurricanes can still happen in the month of August. So that is something we're going to keep an eye on as we go, especially by the midpoint of this month, as the tropical weather season really starts to ramp up in the Atlantic Ocean. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more of this weather content across southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics. We cover it all: temperatures, precipitation, drought, fire weather risk, severe weather risk, tropical weather risk, and winter storms as well once we get to the winter season. By the way, my winter forecast will be posted at the very end of this month on August 31st. So mark your calendars for that. That will be unveiled on August 31st. Another reason to subscribe to my channel. So subscribe, like the video, give it a thumbs up, share with a friend, family member, and on social media, and do comment below. I definitely appreciate all the comments that you guys give me. I answer your questions as best as I possibly can. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the support, and have a wonderful and safe rest of your day out there.